Welcome to chapter 6 of the book of the Song of Solomon. As I mentioned at the very beginning, this book is unusual in that it's very difficult to be expositorily teach the book of what everything means. It could mean many things to who the kinsmen, these people are, and who the Shulamite is, and you can relate it to a city, Jerusalem, or to the temple, or to a wife or a lover of Solomon, and all sorts of things. And as I mentioned, I'm going to try to use these words that appear in this book that I see in the New Testament, how it relates, how these words are used in the New Testament. It doesn't necessarily mean the subject in the New Testament is the same as what is in the book of the Song of Solomon. But having said that, and now we've gone into 5 chapters, and it's almost like it's a love letter. You can see a young man writing a book like this, and even fairly late after this period of time, even into the 1790s, where we had the Romantic poets, Keats and Wordsworth, Shelley, and England. In England, that's the ones I know as I speak English only. And these Romantic poets sort of took up what is used here in this book. And the themes that they used were sentiments, the sentiments of somebody, how they feel, how, where are you going, and do you love me, and who is not helping, and the sentiments, and then the emotion is brought out. You are the fairest, you're this, you're like really great, so all sorts of emotion. But most of this emotion and that is in the sublime. It's not just everyday words and actions, but they're something that it's sublime. It doesn't really happen. You don't see these things in reality. It's in somebody's, I wouldn't want to call it their imagination, but their developing of this type of poetry. Power was used by these romantics. Power talks about the power of the kinsmen and these people that are around him and so forth. Passion and how I love you, my beloved, and so forth is another theme of the Romantics. Nature was used by the Romantics, and we see nature here with myrrh and aloes and all sorts of animals and the herds and so forth, and relating them to the beauty of either the kinsman or the Shulamite. Melancholy was used, and we see the melancholy in this book on how the Shulamite opened the door and the kinsman was not there. And then imagination and imagining somebody being a certain way, the kinsman or the Shulamite is, I would think that, imagining that they're somebody. So all of these things are within the book, these types of themes. Now, as I mentioned, I looked for things in the New Testament, and this is a very short chapter. And what I saw, first I'll bring out these questions, or statements, whatever. Who was Mary, the mother of Jesus? We don't know her parents. It was not mentioned in the Nativity, which is only briefly mentioned in the book of Matthew, but mainly expounded more in the book of Luke, who wasn't there. So apparently Luke went to the Israel, found Mary, and learned all these things, that because he talks about things that no other gospel mentions, and we see these things about Mary. So with that, let's go into the chapter. I'll read some Greek and then we'll go through it. So it begins with the narrators in verse in 6:1. Pu apilthen o adelphido su, ikali in ginexi, pu apevlipsen o adelphido su, ke zitisomen afton metasu. Where did your kinsman go forth, O fair one among women? Where did your kinsman look away? For we will seek him with you. And so now the daughters of Jerusalem probably are going to try to find him, at least in this verse here. Luke 1:30, it says, "Fear not, Mary, for you found favor with God." So the favor, O fair one, Kali. And so we see that she was a fair one. She found favor. Now, why did God choose Mary of all women? Isn't that a good question? Now, in verse 2, it continues, "My kinsman went down to his garden." The Shulamite is now talking. To bowls of the aromatics, to tend in gardens, and to collect lilies. I am to my kinsman, and my kinsman to me, the one tending among the lilies. So we're together. He's my love, basically. Then the kinsman starts talking, and he says, "You are fair, my dear one, as good pleasure, beautiful as Jerusalem, a consternation as one is arranged, and that is for battle," that little dagger says. And then in Luke 1:51, Mary says, "He executed might with his arm," that is God. He dispersed the proud ones, the thoughts of their hearts. And the idea of God looking and seeing Mary, in the good pleasure that he found in Mary. We're not told why he chose Mary, but he did. "Turn away your eyes from before me, for they incited me." And this is the kinsman, for they incited me. "The hair of your head is as the herds of the goats, which ascended from Gilead." And we saw this earlier chapter. "Your teeth as herds of the ones being sheared, which ascend from out of the bath, all bearing twins, and there is not one being childless among them. Your lips are as a scarlet string, and your speech is beautiful. Your cheeks are as the rind of the pomegranate, being seen outside your veil, red. There are 60 queens and 80 concubines and young women, which there is not a number. But my dove is one, my perfect one. She is the only one to her mother. The choice one is to the one giving birth to her." And the daughters beheld her, and queens will declare her blessed. And indeed the concubines also shall praise her. So this sets the Shulamite off as better than any other woman. And we see in Luke 1:48 where Mary says, "For he looked upon the low estate of his maid servant." And then, "For behold, from the present all generations shall declare me blessed." Exactly has it here, as the daughters will declare her blessed. The queens will declare her blessed. Who is she looking out as the dawn, fair as the moon, choice as the sun, all nature, and the consternation as troops being set in order for battle? Into the garden of walnuts I went down to behold among the produce of the valley of the rushing stream, to see if the grape vine bloomed, or if the pomegranates blossomed. My soul knew not. It made me as the chariots of Aminadab. Now, who is Aminadab? Aminadab, we're told, was the ruler of the house of Judah. His father was Aram. It mentions that in 1 Chronicles 2:10, then in the genealogy of Jesus in Luke 3:33, Matthew 1:4. Aminadab, there was the grandfather of Boaz, who was Boaz was the father of Jesse, the great grandfather of David. It mentions that in Matthew 1:5 and Luke 3:32. And Aminadab was the second son of Jesse. He was a brother of David, uncle to Solomon, 1 Samuel 16:8. So he must have had a lot of chariots and was a powerful man. It mentions that he fought against the Philistines when David went out to battle with Goliath, and he went and saw his brothers, and one of them was Aminadab. That's in 1 Samuel 17:13. Now, the chariots of Aminadab, my soul knew not. It made me as the chariots of Aminadab. Now, exactly what he's referring to, it might be in 1 Samuel 7:1, with the ark of the covenant was brought to the house of Aminadab, which was on a hill, and one man grabbed a hold of the ark, thinking it was going to fall over, and he was put to death. But then, in 2 Samuel 6:3, David took the ark from out of the house of Aminadab and brought it into the city of David, and that might be something that Solomon saw. It made me as the chariots of Aminadab. And it finishes with, return, return, O Shulamite, return, return, and we will look to you. And he wants the Shulamite wants to be together with the Shulamite. In chapter 7, our next video seminar, the narrator begins, and we go find out about what happens with the Shulamite and what it might be reflecting also in the New Testament. Pretty interesting, I think. Hope you join us. Until the next time, God bless.